quick question. What do Butch and Sundance, Bonnie and Clyde, Thelma and Louise, Shaggy and Scooby, and Jay and Silent Bob all have in common? They're all examples of movies about best friends teaming up. They're some of the most successful team-ups in cinema history. And then in 1989, Bill S. Preston, Esquire, and Ted Theodore Logan joined this list as two dim-witted high school students who were just trying to pass their history class. Before playing Bill, Alex Winter was best known for The Lost Boys. And before becoming Ted, Keanu Reeves was already making a name for himself in Hollywood with movies like River's Edge, Permanent Record, and Dangerous Liaisons. We'll take a look back at this comedy classic and what it was like seeing it opening weekend on the next Back to the Feature.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey there, movie lovers. Dwayne here to take you back to when some of the greatest movies you know and love first opened at the theater. If you're a fan of movies from the 80s, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below to help grow this channel. Today's film is straight from my book of stubs. Like most people who went to see Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure opening weekend, I went because it was a unique idea that had time travel in it and co-starred the late great George Carlin. Now, you wouldn't think that failing a history class would be the end of the world. But in the distant future, Bill and Ted become the founders of modern society. Actually, let's let Rufus, played by George Carlin, explain it to you.
Hi, welcome to the future. San Dimas, California, 2688. And I'm telling you, it's great here. I'm telling you, this place is great. But it almost wasn't. You see, 700 years ago, the two great ones ran into a few problems. So now I have to travel back in time to help them out.
That's the main plot in a nutshell. Rufus is sent back in time to San Dimas using a time machine in the form of a phone booth of all things. Now, as Rufus mentioned, the boys ran into a few problems.
You have flunked every section of this class. Now, unless you get an A+ on your final oral report tomorrow, guys, I have no choice but to flunk the both of you.
Rufus has to make sure that young Bill and Ted pass, because if they don't graduate, Ted's police captain dad will ship him off to a military school in Alaska, ending Bill and Ted's band, Wyld Stallyns, which would alter history for the worse. Bill and Ted are going around to different convenience stores asking random people questions about history to no avail. While they are at a Circle K, a strange light falls from the sky and they meet Rufus and his time machine for the first time. Now, this scene offers one of my favorite lines from the whole movie.
Bill, what? Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Before Rufus can start explaining everything to them, their own future selves show up in another phone booth and tell them that they should listen to everything Rufus tells them. Convinced by their future selves, they agree to join him in the booth. He gives them a quick lesson in how to use the phone booth by taking the boys back to the year 1805 during the French Revolution. There they see Napoleon lead his troops into battle, and as they're returning to the phone booth, Napoleon spots him and orders him to be blown up. But just as the phone booth takes off through the circuits of time, Napoleon is thrown by the wake of the explosion and dragged off with them as they travel back to their own time. Bill and Ted later find him stuck up in the tree, and that's where they come up with the plan that would ultimately become their excellent adventure. They would use the time machine to travel through time, abducting other historical figures and make them part of their history presentation. Before they get started, they enlist Ted's younger brother Deacon to babysit Napoleon. Then the adventure really begins. Cruising through time, the boys meet various historical figures and bring them all back to the present. First up is Billy the Kid. He was a gunslinger from the Old West, best known for having a fast gun and being really young. Next up was Socrates, or as they call him, Socrates. Socrates is known as the founder of Western philosophy. Now, they get a bit sidetracked at this point by stomping off in 15th century England. I'm not sure who they were planning on grabbing, but they somehow managed to fall in love with a couple of princesses, only to anger their father, the king, who wants to have them executed.
Put them in the Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden?
They get away just in time, but not before a knight is able to damage the booth antenna, which accidentally lands them in the year 2688, where they meet the very council that sent Rufus back in time. This is when they learn that society is based on their future music, even though currently they can't play worth a shit. Then they go after Sigmund Freud in Austria. Freud is best known for the Oedipus complex, which is basically when a child has desire for the parent of the opposite sex. Now this hits home for Bill as he admits to having a minor Oedipus complex because his stepmother Missy is only 4 years older than him and very pretty. Now after Freud, they stop off in 1810 Germany to pick up the one and only Beethoven. And then came the only female historical figure in the group, Joan of Arc, the patron saint of France, who was a badass on the battlefield during the 1400s. Next they go grab Genghis Khan, the ruthless leader of the Mongol Empire, from Outer Mongolia in 1209. And lastly, they take President Abraham Lincoln. Snatched him straight out of the White House in 1863. Now after having assembled everyone they need for their presentation, you would think it would be smooth sailing. But nope. With only 2 hours left before the report is due, they find out that Deacon ditched Napoleon. For some reason, they decide to drop the others off at the mall so they could learn about modern-day San Dimas while they go find Napoleon. And this is when all hell breaks loose. It's quite the montage, as each one seems to find trouble at the mall. Bill and Ted track Napoleon down at the local water park and return to the mall just in time to find the others have all been arrested and jailed for various disturbances. This hiccup in the plan causes Bill and Ted to take on some time travel shenanigans in order to break them out of jail. With all the students assembled in the auditorium, the boys make a last-second grand entrance on stage. Each historical figure is introduced and gets an opportunity for a little show and tell, much to the delight and amazement of the student body and the history teacher. Abe Lincoln gives a final speech and gets a standing ovation.
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes!
The boys gather everyone back into the phone booth, and just like that, they're gone. And everyone goes crazy. Rufus shows up in the epilogue to congratulate Bill and Ted on their success, and he even brings the lovely princesses along with him. He explains that the girls are destined to be part of their band, and then they all start jamming together, with Rufus even whipping out his own guitar to play along. He's actually the only one who knows how to play though. He knows they suck, and he breaks the fourth wall to address those of us in the audience, telling us that they do get better. Now walking out of the theater, I really enjoyed the movie. Sure, it was goofy as hell, but it was fun. Bill and Ted come off as total slackers, but really, they are just nice, innocent guys who are just super chill and happen to love music. They're harmless, and I think that's what makes the movie work. Now here's a fun fact. There's an online theory that in another timeline, Ted did end up going to military school and eventually becomes John Wick. The movie was a big success and would eventually spawn 2 sequels, as Bill and Ted remain popular to this day. Who's your favorite, Bill or Ted? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below to help grow this channel. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, and I hope you will come back for the next Back to the Feature.